Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about minimizing axial loading for our accessory work. And the reason this is kind of a big topic is this is particularly for conjugate people, and I'm showing here just some basic stuff from a couple of weeks of my own lower body conjugate. That you guys get the idea that this isn't like our normal barbell based training, and you see that with my clients and some of the programs I do out there that are very, very heavily classic barbell lift oriented. We do tend to see a lot of volume squatting and deadlifting. But the problem with that, while it works very, very good for high specificity, it also can beat you up very quickly. Like our fatigue management is so much different. Whereas when we take this other approach, we're always focused on recovery, meaning the only stuff that we do that beats us up at all are the max effort lifts, which you guys see some of those at the start, some squat and deadlift variations, just on what training max is, not true 100% maxes, but training maxes that are at least 90%. And those create a fair amount of fatigue, but because we rotate those lifts every week slightly, we actually get less risk of overuse and we can get away with that heavy lifting. We can get away with near maximal lifts every single week and have zero recovery issues. And the reason that we bypass that is through using speed work and low fatigue accessory work. So what do we mean with the speed work? Well, if you guys notice, I'm doing speed box squats and speed pulls here using a couple different setups, different bars. You'll see bands, chains. You'll see sumo, conventional. So you see a lot of variation here, but the idea is the same. Notice it's all really, really lightweight. Okay, now there's a lot of chain and bands. So people are looking at some of those and going, that's not just 100 pounds of bands or chains on any of these. No, it's not. Some of these go up past 200 pounds. But the bar weights are kept light. And by us doing that, we actually get a low axial loading, because even if you're running 200 pounds of band tension on a speed deadlift and you only have, 160 pounds or 170 pounds of bar weight, that's really not that much axial loading at the top for a strong lifter. And we're only there briefly. Right? We're not up at top a long time. We go into it and come back down, especially the deadlifting. We're only there for a brief second. And by us doing this, the speed work can be done for very, very high volumes with short breaks. And what happens? The axial loading is pretty low. Our overall fatigue from it is pretty low. Well, what does that mean? It means we recover from it and it doesn't interfere with the heavy lifting. It doesn't interfere at all. And then we go over and look at the other accessory work. What sort of accessory work during this week did I do? Well, obviously there was some neck work and rowing and pull-ups and stuff. But one of the things you guys will notice, that even for me, when I'm doing this system these days, I don't even do standing rows of any type. They're always chest supported or inverted rows. We do pull-ups, things to where the back can be placed in traction or no real load on it. Or even, one-arm dumbbell rows, seal rows, whatever we need to do. We're not putting compressive stress on the back. And we try to do as many traction-based movements as possible. When you go over and look at the other stuff that I'm doing, I take advantage of all these traction-based machines that I own. I own them for that reason. And I'm not saying you have to have these, but it sure makes things easier. So when we look at the things that I do, we're oftentimes, I'm not saying I don't run phases with really heavy good mornings also, but we can get away with it if it's the only other heavy thing we do. Right? We can get away with it. But most of it is belt squats, right? Where the weight is around our waist. Our hips have to support it. It puts our back in traction. But it works all the muscles of a squat. And you can replicate any type of squat. In my case, I replicate the power squat. We can fully develop the lower body as it relates to squatting, and even in this case, even to potentially sumo deadlifting, right? It looks real similar to a wide squat or a sumo deadlift. We can build all that musculature with a less overall fatigue on the body. Nothing's loaded on top of us, right? You'll see me do reverse hypers to where we can develop the entire posterior chain, with a heavier emphasis on the low back, on the glutes, and puts the back in traction instead of loading it. Well, what does that do? That we can do a lot of volume, and we can recover well because it actually is restorative to some degree because of the traction. You'll see me do glute ham raises. Well, again, we go into traction on that. Arguably the best hamstring exercise ever developed, but we use traction because we hang at the bottom. So again, it's not like the ones where people do it on the floor or the Nordic ones. We actually go into traction at the bottom. Our body is pulled, our spine is pulled. Works the entire posterior chain with a larger emphasis on the hamstrings and full hamstring development. So we start using tools like this, and what happens? We can do more volume. Just like we could also do, if you don't have some of these things, you could use leg presses. We can do single leg exercises, split squats, lunges. All right, they place a lot less load and stress on the body. And we can build all that musculature. People say, well, is the low back and everything getting enough work? Well, we could do different types of hyperextensions. We can do band pull-throughs. We can do all sorts of other stuff. In fact, I like band pull-throughs a lot for my people on this system. My people who don't have any real equipment. They don't have hyperextension benches, right? They don't have any leg machines. Well, what do we do for them on a system like this? Split squats, lunges, band pull-throughs. Of course, we do good mornings. Those people are going to usually do good mornings. We're going to have to. There's more stress there. But we can also do the other stuff, such as, again, I like a lot of high-rep banded good mornings. I like banded pull-throughs, cable pull-throughs. We can do all this other stuff to develop these muscles that we need to squat and deadlift, but in a way that where we can recover from the volumes itself. So we're working just the muscles, not the entire body. Now, people always say, but shouldn't we work the entire body? There are benefits. Novices, it's great for training economy. It works very well. The more advanced we get, though, we get beat up easier doing it. And it actually limits the amount of work we can do. But if we pick all of these easier movements, we combine that with really our only heavy stuff is rotating max effort lifts. So where we at least work different things for less overuse, and then everything else is about recovering. Getting more training stimulus, but in a way that doesn't interfere with that. It works. It works very, very well. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.